And I was a bit nervous sort of coming to Thruxton. The last few years, Thruxton hasn't been very kind to me. I have heaps of good results here, loads of podiums, in fact, a lot of wins around this circuit in the Superbike class. And my first ever British Superbike podium came here at Thruxton. My first ever British Superbike win came here at Thruxton. So it is a track that I normally have good feelings for and really look forward to. But the last few years, as these Superbikes have gotten more and more power, it just seems to be quite a task to get them to generate any grip. As a result of them being quite powerful, quite aggressive on the tyre, Pirelli have had to bring in and reintroduce sort of more harder wearing, more resilient tyres, which then generate less grip. So because it's got less grip, the tyre's not actually gripping the ground and driving you forward. It's actually spinning more. So if it wasn't spinning bad enough before, it's spinning even more now because we've got harder tyres. The harder tyre isn't just affecting us. Obviously, everybody on the grid has the same tyre. But for some reason, which I can't understand why, the BMW definitely doesn't seem to be able to make the hard tyre work. The Yamaha is probably the better of the brands of being more versatile and working with the harder tyre and still being able to produce a good lap time. The Kawasaki and Honda are also quite okay, but the Ducati really suffers when it comes here. You'll see the Ducati's well down the list, and then also the BMW. We're actually in a bit of a position where we're trying to make the bike softer in the rear to try and let the rear tyre have an easier time and find some grip. But because it's so soft, the rear of the bike's sort of like sitting down. It doesn't feel like that to me, but when we look at the laptop and see all the numbers, they're saying, look, we're using too much travel. So for the next race in fact, we're going to raise the pivot, which, you know, people don't understand the technical side of the motorbikes. It's the point at where the swing arm bolts onto the main frame. We're going to raise the pivot a little, and that gives it more anti-squat. So basically stops the bike from wanting to sit so easily on acceleration. So we're going to try and go with the softer setting to give the tyre a chance to grip, but then raise the pivot to create that anti-squat effect to try and keep it a little bit higher up in the stroke so it doesn't sit down too easy, and then potentially get the turns better. Sorry if this is boring you. It does get quite technical in the garage, but I thought maybe there's a few people out there that would actually like to know, what are you doing? What's going to make a difference? So that's sort of a little insight into what's going on. Hello everyone, welcome to the FHO BMW Monster Energy VIP special hospitality chat show. This is the part where I do a bit of talking whilst we wait for Pete to turn up because he's always late. Also, what we usually do is talk about how the weekend's been going, how the bike is, a few sort of insider details. I'd rather not talk about this weekend, it's been going so bad. Last weekend was pretty good though, so we can talk about that if you like. For those that may not know, last week we took part in the support event at the MotoGP, the only British Championship event that was being run at the MotoGP. Actually, they had the Talent Cup thing as well, the other Moto3 like what's out there now, but they had Superstock 1000, so it's a 1000cc category, the same as what we have in Superbike, but the level lower, Superstock. So as it was the Monster Energy British Grand Prix, as the Monster Energy team in British Superbikes, they asked if we'd take part in that British Superstock event. Even though we wouldn't normally, they just said, could you make an exception and ride as basic guest riders in that category. So we actually do have some Superstock bikes because we ride the Superstock class in the Isle of Man TT. So as we have the bikes at the workshop ready to sort of go, we were able to accept that request and go and take part in the Superstock race, where I qualified on pole for both races, set a lap record, and won both races. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you. It was brilliant. You know, the BMW in Superstock category is a very competitive package. So although we don't normally ride that bike, we didn't have to spend a lot of time setting the bike up or coming up with new settings, sort of like combinations to try and make the bike more competitive. It's already a good package in that class. So we kind of just like got dropped in and we were fast straight away. And I think also it helps having me being one of the older guys, has a bit of an experience where in recent years, the British Superbikes haven't gone and rode the full Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone. So there were probably quite a few riders that were probably learning the track whilst we were kind of trying to get a good setup on the bike. So as it worked out, the balance was about right. So, but anyway, pleased with that. Pleased to come away from a weekend stress-free and feeling good with the results. You know, focus a little bit more on me, which I didn't want to, but yeah, just we're well down the list, further back than I had anticipated. Just working through a few different settings. Like I said, the last few years I've struggled here at Thruxton to get the bike to work and be competitive. So we're looking over what we did last year and trying to see if there's any pattern in what we did last year that may have be valuable and help in the setup process for what we could do this year. It's no good trying all the same things we tried last year and then go, oh look, it didn't work then, and also no surprise, it doesn't work now. So we don't want to go over old steps. We want to try and make some progress, make some new things. So, but in general, we're having a difficult time this weekend. So maybe support some of the other riders whilst they're racing around, and I'll just do my best at the back. But I'll pass over to Pete now and see if he can build this up a bit. Thank you. Times in World Superbike more so than here, where the tyres come off the rim during riding. So I think there's a good example. Top Rack on the Yamaha. There's some footage on the internet, or photos at least, and he's full sideways, and you can see the tyres just like visibly off the rim, and that's caused him to have a crash. So obviously, Pirelli desperately don't want any situations like that. Not necessarily ever going to happen here in this series. They're just making a really clear decision to make sure that can never happen. Just making an exception to the situation, because this track's got lots of long radius corners. It's not that we do damage to the tyre, like it's not able to handle what we're asking of it. The problem is that the material that we've got to use, it's just wearing out. It's like as if someone runs their tyres right down past the wear indicators just to get the maximum out of it, because before they go for the MOT. It's just like we're like right down to the limit of what rubber's left on the tyre. So that's not because it's a bad tyre or because we're using it wrong. It's just because of the nature of this track. It's high speed, high angle, high gear, and it just really hammers the tyre and takes a lot of material off it. So for that reason, Pirelli and the organisers have decided, because we do ride on a controlled tyre, every tyre we ride on at every track of the year is decided, it's the same for everybody. So there's no advantage. You can't pick another tyre that's better, or so it is decided by Pirelli what tyres we get. And at this event, because of the nature of the circuit, they've decided we should run on a harder tyre.
My argument is to give us more grip and spin less, so that
you use less tyre.
So like using soft tyre, we weren't actually using as much as what we're using now on a hard tyre. My argument always goes back to 2019 on the S1000 Glass, so the 2 generations before this bike. I finished 6th in the British Superbike Championship, had some podiums throughout the year. We were allowed to use a soft tyre and like a medium tyre that year, which we always use the softer of the option, because like I said, we want more grip. In 2020, which was the COVID year, they actually did this rule where they made us use a really hard tyre. We only had 6 rounds. I crashed my brains out, which I'm not normally a crasher, and touched some water now. I crashed my brains out, finished 14th in the championship. The only difference of that bike from 19 to 20 was the tyre. Just grip, just mechanical grip, allowing the bike to have what it actually needs. Not every bike needs it. Some of it generates it already, like if you look now, the Yamaha generates grip, the Honda does. Looks like Kawasaki is obviously going well as well. Our bike just doesn't. It wants mechanical grip. We can't seem to find it without. That's not to say give up on trying to find it, but it doesn't naturally have that grip.
Can I get you to sign this?
Particularly Thruxton accelerates our problems. Because the circuit here is so fast flowing, long radius corners, high gear, high speed on the edge of the tyre, if you've already got a grip problem where the engine's spinning the tyre up and then you put it at full lean angle at high speed, it's only going to spin more. So this track really highlights the weakness from our package. So if we go to other tracks and we sort of show a little bit of weakness, this track really elevates that, and I feel like we suffer a bit more here. Also at this event, Pirelli forced us to use a harder rear tyre.
Dampers quite well.
Hello, Carl.
Oh, you're talking about Kyle? Oh, sorry. What do we know? It's not been too patchy lately, so put things right today.
We're not in a position to put things right. I was actually in a great surprise yesterday when I discovered I was on the second row of the grid for this race today. I didn't feel like I did anything special or anything to deserve such a position, but obviously the times are very close, so getting a good start and rolling with the front group is, you know, what's going to make the difference. So yeah, we're starting in a better position. I'll do all I can to try and, you know, roll around and not wear out the tyre too hard early on, and stay with the group.
That's sure.
At the moment, the BM's suffering a little bit because of the harder tyre. In that race we just had is the best race I've had for a very long time. I was in podium position for some time and then unfortunately dropped back to 4th. I don't feel that bad about dropping back to 4th, as surprising as it sounds. I never expected to be in 3rd in the first place. I've had such a difficult weekend that I never imagined that 3rd would be an opportunity I would have this weekend. Also, I was even surprised yesterday after the opening race when I found out I'd be on the second row of the grid for today's race. So if you don't know, the grid position for each race is dictated by your lap time of the previous race. So we had a qualifying session to decide the grid for yesterday's first race, and the lap time from that race yesterday is where we started the start of this race today. So I was actually 6th fastest in yesterday's race, even though I finished 14th or something. So all that suggests is that the lap times are actually really close together. It just means if you get a bad start, you sit in the same place and suffer. And if you're off the early, up the front of the grid and get a good start, you can possibly run at the front, which is exactly what I did just now. I got in a good position, I got off the start, and because the race was reduced to just 5 laps because of different incidents, and it's only a shorter race anyway, it was only 5 laps for my tyre to degrade before, and in that short period of time I was able to stay in 4th position. So quite pleased with that. Because this race was shorter, we're actually allowed by Pirelli to use the softer of the 2 tyres options that we have. So in the opening race, we had to use the harder one. That was forced upon us. The second race is a bit shorter. We're allowed to use the softer tyre. So our bike actually worked a little bit better because we had that softer tyre. But we still have all the same issues that I already described earlier. So now we're going to the final race, and we're forced to use the harder tyre again. So I will be starting, I think, off the second row of the grid. But so that's a good thing. But I really don't know how much I'm going to try and build you up, because I genuinely don't know how this race is going to plan out. I'll certainly be trying my hardest, giving it everything I've got, trying to stay at the front as long as I can. But I anticipate I'll either try really hard early on to stay with everybody and burn the tyre up, or I'll ride quite conservatively and try and save the tyre so I have a consistent run all the way through the race, and then just sort of like steadily drop back through the race. I know that sounds a little bit negative, but I'm more of a realist. I like to look at the facts of the situation and try and work on what actually is happening, rather than try and imagine that things are going to go really well and we're just going to hope that things magically arrive us on the podium. But yeah, I mean, if you want to wish me luck and hope that I get there, I'll be certainly trying. Again on the second row for the final race. However, for the final race, we're back to the harder tyre because of the longer race distance. Yeah, having a decent battle amongst some of the other competitors, but yeah, ultimately 8th in the end. So not a disaster, but not really what we'd like to come away with. Yeah, we were hoping to be, at this point in the year at least, fighting for podiums. We know we've got some work to do. That's no secret, but yeah, 8th is a little far from where we wanted to be. But anyway, Thruxton's a difficult circuit for us, so we'll have to accept that and move on to Cadwell Park next round.